Hello everyone, I'm Ernie and I'm so glad you're here with us today. Today we are back on the Comstock load getting some more high-grade silver ore to redo our project that we had issues with the other day. This time around we're going to do things just a little bit different, and hopefully our outcome will be totally different and it will be a positive outcome. And let's get to it. We have our silver ore from Virginia City in the Comstock load, and now we are at the Stagecoach Mill where we're going to process our silver ore. And the reason why we're doing this project over is because we had some issues with our first set of materials. Is that we learned that there's a lot of pyrite and chalcopyrite that's in the ore, and chalcopyrite has copper in it, and that was the hang up or the issue we had in our first smelt or our fire assay. And that's why some material wouldn't melt, and that was the chalcopyrite or the copper. And so what we're going to do this time, we're going to take our material, we're going to weigh it up and find out how much material we have to work with today, and then we're going to cook it in the furnace, and we're going to cook it for about a half an hour or so at 1400 degrees. Actually, we're going to cook it until the smoke stops, because this material has a lot of sulfur in it, and you can smell the sulfur burning when we cook the ore. And I just want to mention that this is not roasting. We're not roasting the ore. Technically, in metallurgy, when you roast the ore, you have your ore that is crushed up, you put it in a cast iron skillet, and then you roast it between half an hour to sometimes up to 2 hours at 900 degrees, so that way the sulfides will crack open and release the precious metal that's inside of it. And we're going to do that after we crush up our rocks, and we're going to roast it. Then we will pan it out and get the concentrate, and then we're going to go through the Aqua Regia. And once we get to that process, I'll fill you in on why we're doing it this way. And so let's get to this project, and let's get to our silver out of this silver ore from the Comstock lode in Virginia City. Before we get any farther into this project, I do want to say a great big thank you to professional prospector and friend of mine, Chris Ralph, for educating me about chalcopyrite and how chalcopyrite carries copper in it. And it was the copper that was hanging up our fire assay project and led us to what we're going to do in this project today. As you can see in this cupellation process, the cupel on the left is just not melting, and that's what had chalcopyrite in it. In this photo here, you can see the silver bead, but you can also see the hard copper material from the chalcopyrite. And this cupel right here was that first one, and all the material was absorbed into that cupel. Here is all the silver ore that we brought home from Virginia City, and what I would like you to notice is all the pyrite that is in this ore. Pyrite is made of iron and sulfur, where chalcopyrite is made up of copper, iron, and sulfur. Here is our silver ore that we picked up from Virginia City on the Comstock load. And we're going to put it in our bucket. We're going to go weigh it up and see how much ore we have to work with for today's project. We have 12 pounds of silver ore to work with for our project today. Here is our silver ore that we are going to cook in our furnace at 1400 degrees for at least half an hour. And here is our ore after we had cooked it for about 35 minutes at 1400 degrees. Here is our silver ore that we had cooked and broken up with a hammer. And I have the chain mill all cleaned out. That way we will have no cross-contamination from the mother lode gold from the Red Wing mine. And we're going to put our chain mill back together and get this ore crushed up. Here is our crushed ore that we are going to roast at 900 degrees. Let's get this panned out and get our concentrate. Here is our concentrate from 12 pounds of silver ore from the Comstock lode in Virginia City. I did have this concentrate sitting out in the sun for a whole day so it would dry. Let's weigh up our concentrate in this beaker and find out how much concentrate we got out of 12 pounds of silver ore. We have 321 grams of concentrate. Now we will wash our concentrate with some hydrochloric acid. The purpose for your hydrochloric acid wash is to remove most of the base metals that are inside the concentrate. Now we will bring our concentrate to a low boil with a hydrochloric acid wash for 1 hour. It's been 1 hour and now we're going to give our hydrochloric acid wash its first rinse. And in this process, we are going to give this 4 rinses, but we're not going to show all 4 rinses in this process because it'll be boring and redundant. So I will start with this rinse and finish it with the last rinse before we get into our nitric acid wash. And here we will pour out our 4th rinse. Now we will begin our nitric acid wash. Our nitric acid wash will consist of 100 milliliters of distilled water and 120 milliliters of nitric acid. What is very important in this part of the procedure is to slowly add in your nitric acid. The purpose of your nitric acid wash is to dissolve the silver and the copper that is inside the concentrate. Here is a time lapse of the reaction of our nitric acid wash. At this time, I do want to mention that it is very important for you to wear your proper PPE, such as your safety glasses, your vinyl gloves, and your respirator, and especially your respirator, because if you look inside our nitric acid wash, you will see some red fumes. Those red fumes are nitrogen dioxide, and those fumes will literally kill you. Have fun and enjoy working on your projects, but please keep yourself safe. Now, we will filter out our nitric acid wash and retrieve our silver nitrate solution. We are going to continue this process of filtering out our nitric acid wash. This process is going to take a while because I am using our really good quality filter paper. So as we continue this, we're also going to start our Aqua Regia process. But before we start our Aqua Regia process, we are going to give this material 2 rinses. And like always, I am going to only show 1 rinse and not bore you with the second one. We are now going to begin our Aqua Regia process. We are now going to add in 150 milliliters of hydrochloric acid, and then we will slowly add in between 8 to 10 milliliters of nitric acid to make our Aqua Regia. We have allowed our Aqua Regia to work for 5 hours, and we are also completed with filtering out our nitric acid wash. Now we will filter out our Aqua Regia. I did want to make a mention that I did refilter our Aqua Regia with some laboratory grade filter paper. We will now add into our Aqua Regia some sulfamic acid to denox, or in other words, neutralize the nitric acid in our Aqua Regia. I add in sulfamic acid until the reaction stops. Now we will filter out the granules that came from the sulfamic acid, and coffee filter paper works just fine for this process. Now we will precipitate our gold from our Aqua Regia, if there is any gold, with some ferrous sulfate, otherwise known as iron sulfate. I have 60 milliliters of hot distilled water, and I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of iron sulfate. Now we will filter in our iron sulfate into our Aqua Regia to precipitate our gold. I wanted to take this moment to show you the 2 types of filter papers I am using on this project. I've added some copper into our silver nitrate solution, and by putting solid metal metallic copper into the solution, there is an exchange of ions. It puts more copper into the solution, from what I'm seeing is happening, but it pulls the silver out of the solution, and I'm not seeing that. It looks like I had made a mistake in this process, but let's keep going. And we are going to get back to the end of this towards the end of the project. It is now the following day, and our Aqua Regia has sat overnight for the last 10 hours. If you look closely into the beaker, you will see that there is a little bit of gold drop. And we're going to focus on this part of the project right now, and let's keep moving forward. We're going to pour out our Aqua Regia and give our gold drop 1 rinse. Let's pour out our rinse and then give our gold drop 1 hydrochloric acid wash. After this hydrochloric acid wash, I did give it 1 more rinse after this, but I forgot to record it. Now we will get our gold drop into the crucible dish before we take it to the furnace. Let's get this heated up and get the water evaporated, and then we will add some anhydrous borax into the mix. And here is the gold that we got from this project. Here is the gold that we got out of our material, and that clear material is the hardened, dried anhydrous borax. I did try to weigh this, but there's no possible way this thing weighs 0.035 of a gram because the majority of that weight comes from the dried borax. Here is our copper that we had removed from our silver nitrate. And here is the material that was removed when we poured out our silver nitrate. This wraps up this episode of us working with our silver ore from Virginia City in the Comstock lode. And we did get a tiny piece of gold out of that material, but we didn't get any silver. And I'm not sure exactly why we didn't get any silver. I don't know if there was no silver in the ore or if I had made a mistake, and I'm leaning more towards I made a mistake. And so before I uploaded this episode onto my channel, I did contact two of my mentors, Garrett and professional prospector Chris Ralph, and I asked them to view this episode and to see the process that I went through and to see if I had made any mistakes. And if I did make any mistakes, I want to know, because I don't mind being corrected when I make a mistake, because I want to do things the right way, and I'm sure you want to be taught the right way. And so we're going to be looking forward to their reply to my request, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did enjoy this episode, I want to encourage you to spank that like button and to share this on your channel so others can enjoy the process of what we just went through. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, I would like to encourage you to subscribe and to become part of our AU family. We're so thankful that you're here. I would like to communicate with you, and I deeply appreciate your support, and we will see you on the next one.